It was the year the war ended, 45. The year the war ended, I applied for a permission to have a passage to England. Now at that stage you had to get permission from the Department of Internal Affairs or wherever. I asked Miss Roberts if she would endorse my application and she refused. She said we no longer need physiotherapists at this teaching position at the moment. So I went to Miss Lambie, who actually was the head of that particular division in the Department of Health. I don't know what they called it, but it covered the allied professions to medicine. And she said, I would like to see you. So I went to the head of the department in Christchurch. She said, yes. I told Miss Lambie I'd have to go on a Saturday morning because I wasn't free any other time. And it so happened I was on duty that particular Saturday. So I asked the head if I could go up. She said, yes, of course you can. So I went up on the ferry and Miss Lambie agreed to see me at her home and round the bays in Wellington. So off I went and she was very nice and she agreed to endorse my application. I was given the opportunity of travelling on a cargo ship left from Littleton. So I left on a cargo ship December of that year and it was routed around Cape Horn, and there were a few other passengers there as well who were eligible to go. There were a family who'd been in New Zealand over the war who came from England, and students who were required to go overseas to complete their training for surgical or medical degrees, their fellowship, because that wasn't possible in New Zealand then. And prisoners of war who had been repatriated from Japan to New Zealand to have some rehabilitation before they could return to England. So we had a nursing sister, Queen Anne, medical nursing sister. She was a New Zealand nurse who had been taken prisoner in Japan, and we had a man who had blindness caused by dietary deficiencies, and I can't remember the other details at the moment. Oh, and there was one man who was an electrician, telegraphic I think it was, and so we were about 22 or 20. The capacity was about 12, you see, in a cargo ship for passengers. So they doubled that because of the war. So we had cabins with 4 of us. And it was quite a jolly sort of camp in a way. We did our own thing, and one of the doctors who was going to do his fellowship, he wanted to do swatting on board, so he swatted away at his work, and he asked me to hear him, and so I did that, and not that I could, I mean, he would pose a question, and it might be anatomy, and I'd listen to him, and he used to test me because I would either nod or shake my head, and I learned this. So I did a little bit of SWAT too. Now I was most concerned in my teaching responsibilities, and when the course I had to take was teaching electricity and magnetism. And I think I had never taught in New Zealand, because Miss Scotts always did that. Also I had to teach anatomy. I had never taught anatomy as such in New Zealand, because that was always taught by the medical school. But I had done a tremendous number of incidental work in the curriculum as it was then. So I thought, oh gosh, I hope I don't dash people's expectations. Got to London. I'd made arrangements to go to Overseas League when I got there. Got the Overseas League. They had no record of my thing at all, so to start off by finding accommodation in London and that sort of thing.